Best known for leading a decade-spanning spy franchise with origins dating back to the 1960s, featuring cutting-edge gadgets, gorgeous women, and jaw-dropping stunt work, Tom Cruise is, I feel, living through something of a second golden age. Of course, the actor really rose to prominence in the 1980s with films such as Risky Business, Rain Man, and Top Gun, but I don't feel like his star has shined much brighter than this past decade with his continued work on the Mission Impossible series and Jack Reacher and Top Gun again. He has certainly gained a reputation as being a bit of a daredevil madman when it comes to stunt work, and that's become a huge selling point for a lot of his films.
Tom Cruise just rode a motorcycle off a cliff 6 times today.
He does his own stunts, you know. And in an age where CGI work is obviously so prevalent, it's cool that there's still very much a thirst for stunts and effects that can be achieved practically. It's a wonderful thing, and while obviously there are still visual tricks and talented stunt people at play, the authenticity that Cruise brings himself to the action in his films has been a great source of admiration. As of this video, we're still a few months out from the release of the next Mission Impossible film, but I feel like it's already had a good deal of publicity throughout its entire production. I mean, there was that really impressive train stunt that was all over the news, and then there was that fantastic little video that went viral of Cruise delivering a message from the set of the film while in free fall. As well as that, I feel like the release of Top Gun Maverick in particular brought out a whole new, different appreciation of the actor. Obviously, he's very much involved in the production of whatever he stars in these days, so I think it's fair to attribute a part of the overall creative direction to him, and yeah, it's weird that Maverick felt like such a breath of fresh air for just being an exciting, well-made action film, but it really did feel that way. Good evening, Mr. Bond fans. Just to lay my own cards out on the table, I saw Top Gun Maverick for the first time towards the tail end of its theatrical presentation life. So this was well after all of the 5-star reviews had come out and after so many people had said, my god, this is the best film of 2022. And I guess that my expectations were probably set a bit too high by all of that, because I remember coming out of the cinema kind of shrugging and being like, well, it was fine, I enjoyed it, but I don't really get what all the hype is about. And then I saw the film again over the Christmas holidays at home. I was visiting family and a few of us watched it all together, and I immediately bumped up my rating. I had such a great time with it, and I guess a part of it is probably that I didn't have that same level of groundbreaking expectation going into it, because, you know, I don't think that that film is reinventing the wheel or anything like that, but it does what it does incredibly well. In terms of being a fun, exciting, blockbuster movie with a good bit of heart to boot. But Calvin, you may ask, this is a James Bond channel. What on earth does this all have to do with 007? If I had to be succinct, I'd say it's because Tom Cruise is giving audiences all the things they historically and traditionally want and expect from their Bond films. Well, there are the obvious similarities with Mission Impossible, both a series revolving around espionage agents on globe-hopping adventures fighting super-villains with deadly world domination schemes while being aided by a team of recurring characters and performing jaw-dropping stunts as they do so. And speaking of stunts, it seems like a good deal of which Mission Impossible seems to be cherry-picking from the history of Bond films. Not to say that Bond necessarily has a monopoly on fight sequences atop moving trains or little yellow cars zipping about towns or flying off cliffs with parachutes, and with how involved in Bond's adventures the MI6 gang became during the Craig era, one could make a case for the Bond series trying to be a bit more Mission Impossible by introducing that dynamic. Cruise has really taken the baton and run regarding stunts, and I mean, that's not to say that Bond doesn't still have its fair share, but Mission Impossible and Top Gun Maverick have been able to market themselves on the backs of their stunts, on the back of the notion of you ain't seen nothing yet, whereas I look at some of the trailers for Spectre and No Time to Die, and they seem to be very story-focused. Like, the emotional arcs kind of took over, and I feel like the Mission films have been filling something of a vacuum of non-superhero-related pure spy action spectacle. Again, that isn't to say that you don't get some of those things in Spectre and No Time to Die, but a sentiment that I see expressed on social media a lot when it comes to Tom Cruise movies is, oh my god, that was amazing, James Bond really needs to step up his game. Obviously, the Craig era has its fans, and I personally consider Casino Royale and Skyfall a couple of the best films in the whole Bond series, but I don't think I'm misrepresenting when I say that I don't think that Spectre is breaking any Bond fans' top 10 lists, and No Time to Die had a polarizing reaction.
That's putting it mildly, 007.
That latter film in particular being such a downer for so many fans, I think has had a lot to do with comparisons, unfair perhaps, with Top Gun Maverick. Whether you are profoundly moved by James Bond's sacrifice at the end of No Time to Die or not, whether you think that that is the perfect way to end that film or not, it is undeniable that it is an unconventional ending for a Bond film. With the exception of a handful of other films in the series, Bond films generally leave you on a high. The bad guys are beaten, the hero gets the girl, throw in some double entendre, and jobs are good 95% of the time.
I thought Christmas only comes once a year.
007.
And that's probably why No Time to Die was so jarring for so many people. I kind of include myself in that. I mean, I do not leave that film feeling good about things. And obviously not every film needs to end with a smiley show tune and jazz hands, but I'd make the case that films about super spies going on adventures with silly gadgets and fantastical characters probably shouldn't have an audience leaving the cinema like they've just been to a funeral.
How did it happen?
I think they were on their way to a funeral.
Or perhaps leaving a screening of No Time to Die, it's hard to tell. Top Gun Maverick, on the other hand, even when I had my first cinema experience with that film, even though I didn't come out of that cinema singing its praises, I did nonetheless come out with a smile on my face. Like, I'd had a good time, I'd enjoyed myself, and dare I say, it's lovely to leave a cinema with that as the overriding sentiment. The problem for Bond going forward, I think, is that the bar has been raised to such a level by Cruise that I think the next Bond actor is really gonna have to be up for some stuff if they're gonna be trying to compete in the stunts department.
Give the people what they want!
However, I don't want this video to be so completely down on Bond, because I think that if there is an area where Bond has a trump card to play against Mission Impossible, it's in character. Bond as a character is so well defined, and even though the actors playing him may choose to accentuate certain aspects of his personality more than others, generally speaking, audiences en masse can give you a handful of personality traits for the guy, what he likes to wear, his favourite drink, and so on. When it comes to Ethan Hunt, I've seen all the Mission Impossible films multiple times, and I swear to you, I struggle to think of a single adjective to describe the character. He's determined, I guess. Does that count for something? And ultimately, it remains to be seen whether or not the Mission Impossible series will be able to continue to the same degree of success without Cruise, because he is that traditional movie star. Like, people turn up to his films to see him, and with Bond, the character is as much the star as the actor, and history has proven time and time again to never count out the strength of James Bond, to rise from the ashes and best all of his competitors. So, if anything, I will be grateful to Tom Cruise, perhaps, for raising the bar on what to expect when it comes to cinematic, escapist, spy adventure yarns, and if that means that the 007 series can learn from it and take itself into an even stronger place moving forward, then, well, thank you, Mr. Cruise. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, and particularly if anyone else out there had a similar experience to what I had seeing Top Gun Maverick. Were your expectations a bit too high, and then did you revisit it and get a bit more out of it? Also below, you can subscribe to this channel, and you can click the Mrs. Bell notification button to stay super up to date on future video uploads. And also below, there are links to my various social media pages, including my Twitter page and my Patreon page, if you want to go one extra step in supporting this channel. So please do follow the links below for more details on those things. And with all that being said, and until next time, Bond fans, so long for now.